Nowadays, with so many cameras around, you can be filmed doing all sorts of things, from funny moments to downright embarrassing situations. I'm going to show you some footage that's worth watching, like a delivery guy who pounded on a customer's door for a tip, 2 cops who laughed at a suspect because he farted for 4 seconds, and a woman who got hit by a suitcase traveling at high speed. A daring couple just couldn't hold back and decided to have a quickie in the car, right in the middle of the street in broad daylight. And of course, everything was caught by a security camera that recorded the moment in detail. The man started the adventure in the back seat with his partner, and after about 30 seconds of pure boldness, he got out of the vehicle, pulled his pants up, and took a quick look around as if checking if anyone was nearby. Then, after getting everything in place, he hopped back into the back seat, and when he got out again, pulled his pants up once more, as if he was just adjusting things, both his pants and other private areas. The woman involved also tried to get out of the car, but she ran into a group of young people passing by. Feeling awkward, she went back into the car. She even tried to leave discreetly, but had to pull her pants up and fix everything while moving to the passenger seat, acting like nothing ever happened. The funniest part is that they were so determined not to be seen doing their little stunt in the street, but the video on YouTube already has more than 1 million views. In 2018, Angel Granados Diaz, an 18-year-old student at the time, entered the art building of Parkrose High School in Portland, in the United States, armed with a shotgun. The incident triggered a major police response, and the school went into lockdown, with all students and staff in total isolation until the situation was under control. However, no one knew there was a hero inside that school. Keenan Lowe, the school's football coach, acted quickly. He approached Angel, who tried to avoid him. When the young man tried to shake him off, Keenan managed to grab the weapon from Angel's hands and move it behind the student's back, handing it to another teacher. The coach didn't stop there. He kept the disarmed student in a tight hug until the police arrived, preventing anything worse from happening. Later, it was revealed that Angel was going through a mental health crisis at the time, which led to his decision to bring a gun to school. In 2019, Angel was sentenced to mental health treatment and 3 years of probation, along with other conditions, to address the issues affecting his emotional stability. I didn't really understand the context of this situation, but I am absolutely sure this young man never broke character. The guy, for whatever reason, was dressed up like an elderly person, complete with formal clothes, suspenders, some very questionable shoes, and even a cane. He was in the midst of a group of adults and youngsters when, suddenly, a commotion started. A man walked past everyone, subduing another person and taking him away. That's when the fake old man had his moment to shine. In the middle of all that chaos, he lost his balance and toppled sideways right by a wall. People, thinking the senior citizen was in trouble, rushed to help him, trying to lift him up and offering support. But don't worry, folks, no fake old men were harmed in the making of this footage. In a scene that seemed straight out of a movie, a thief thought he was home free after running out of the store with an 87-year-old lady's purse. Spoiler alert, he was completely wrong. The video, posted on X in 2024, showed the criminal sprinting at full speed with the elderly woman's purse. However, a hero appeared right behind him and quickly took him down. The Good Samaritan didn't stop at just knocking the thief to the ground. He threw punches and kicks, trying to keep the criminal from escaping. Meanwhile, another man arrived at the scuffle, grabbed the lady's purse, and returned it to her. Soon, more people came to help, and the thief was finally arrested. Later, the sheriff showed up to congratulate the young man for his bravery, and the elderly lady insisted on thanking him in person. It didn't take long for the video to go viral, and social media was flooded with praise for the hero who saved the day. And as for the thief, karma sure caught up with him fast. A FedEx delivery driver stopped his van to make a delivery, got out, placed the package in front of the house, and without realizing it, ended up being run over by his own van. That's right, he forgot to park the van properly, and the vehicle started rolling backward through the yard. The poor delivery guy collided head-on with the van and got run over. But that wasn't all. He tried to stop the van with both hands, as if he could single-handedly hold back a heavy delivery vehicle. But the van kept moving, almost like it had a mind of its own. When it finally came to a stop on its own, the man managed to drive it out of the yard and park it safely on the street. The homeowner came out to see what was happening and was furious. She asked, "What the heck is this?" The delivery guy, all flustered, tried to explain and apologized for the mess. But as if the situation wasn't ridiculous enough, it got even worse. The woman went inside to grab a pen and paper to note the driver's information, since the van had hit her house, her car, and destroyed part of her yard. And guess what? The van started moving again and ended up hitting the neighbor's car. The delivery guy freaked out and ran after the van, shouting, "What is going on here?" In some places, like the United States, tipping is almost mandatory, especially for delivery drivers. There, the amount usually ranges from 10 to 20%, which is quite standard, even though it isn't an official law. In many other places, this practice is not as common, so this kind of situation might seem a bit stranger. In this delivery driver's case, he dropped off the order and left it at the customer's door, but the buyer didn't show up to receive it. So what did he do? He started knocking hard on the door, as if demanding something. Sure, it might be considered rude not to tip in the United States, but pounding on the customer's door is definitely not the best way to get a little extra cash.
It's saying 0 for the tip. Was there a cash tip?
And that wasn't all. The driver called 3 times, and when someone finally answered, he got straight to the point. He wanted to know if the tip would be paid in cash. The resident, a bit unsettled by the pressure, hung up on him. And of course, the driver did not like that one bit. He stormed off, cursing the resident, calling him a loser, and another swear word I can't say on YouTube. Everyone knows how hard it can be to find a parking spot, especially when it looks like everything is taken. That's exactly what happened to the driver of a yellow Jeep. He was patiently waiting for a gray car to leave its spot so he could park. But before he had the chance, a red car swooped in and took the spot. The Jeep driver was outraged, but he didn't give up. He parked behind the red vehicle, got out of his Jeep, and started tinkering with the back of the offending car, whose driver was no longer there. Then he got back in his Jeep and, to everyone's surprise, began to tow the red car out of the spot. That's right, he pulled the red car until it was pushed aside and finally managed to park. It's one of those justice moments we all love to see. The Jeep driver got his revenge, and who wouldn't want to see that? 2 gym buffs were shopping at the supermarket, each with their little basket, when the whole scene turned into a real comedy show. The first bodybuilder noticed the security camera filming and, as if he'd just been called onto the stage, started showing off his muscles. He struck several poses, flaunting his super-defined arms, and even made over-the-top facial expressions, clearly wanting all the attention. It didn't take long for the other gym buff, who was right behind him, to notice and get annoyed that he wasn't on camera too. He decided to join the fun, struck a biceps pose to compete for the camera's attention, but soon realized the guy in front was overshadowing him. Not satisfied, the bodybuilder behind him shoved the first guy, trying to grab the spotlight. The two started pushing each other, and what seemed like a friendly contest turned into a heated tussle, until they both ended up on the floor, rolling around and throwing punches. Naturally, the scene was filmed, and it quickly went viral. In one comment posted on X, someone wrote, "It's cool, but it looks staged." The woman clearly wasn't having the best day. She parked her Tesla right there next to a pump for gasoline and ethanol, thinking everything was fine. But, of course, her car wasn't hybrid, and that was the main problem. She even tried to find a way, thinking maybe she could make the gas pump work, but reality wasn't on her side. While she tried everything, attempting to fit the pump nozzle into the car's charging port, people in the car behind her were filming the whole thing. It was hard not to laugh, because she was obviously trying her best, but to no avail. One of the men in the car behind was shouting, "It's an electric car!" but she couldn't hear him.
Well, you've got an electric car, mate.
She tried all sorts of things. At one point, she even touched the charging port and got a small shock, but still no luck. Finally, one of the men couldn't stand it anymore, and without losing his cool, got out of his car to explain the situation. That's when she finally realized her car wasn't there to be fueled with gas. It required a totally different kind of service. This story is at least curious. A nurse was cheating on her husband with a colleague at work. Up to that point, it might sound somewhat ordinary, but what happened next is unbelievable. The woman, right in the middle of her shift, called her husband and said she would be working overtime that day. Meanwhile, her lover, who was also her co-worker, was recording everything for TikTok. He even added the caption, "We booked a motel to spend the night." Yes, you read that correctly. The guy filmed the entire affair from start to finish and posted it on TikTok for everyone to see. He was at least clever enough not to show the nurse's face, but his own face appeared in every single video. In part 2, he filmed himself entering the motel room where his lover was waiting. He showed himself shirtless, filming the bed, and made a point of capturing his hand brushing over the nurse's back. In the following video, he posted the rest of the story. The nurse had told her husband she would be home by 7:30 in the morning, but it was already 9:45. The lover woke her up, and the two rushed out of the motel, with him recording every moment and posting it. The worst came after when the videos started being sent to his workplace. The guy made an angry video saying, "You people are crazy. Why are you sending this to my job? You're gonna get me fired. But if you want to stay anonymous, maybe don't post it on TikTok." Hauling suitcases for a trip isn't easy, but these two women decided to get creative to make things simpler. They positioned themselves at the top of a descending escalator and placed a suitcase there so that gravity would do the work. The idea might have seemed smart, but things didn't go as planned. The suitcase sped down the escalator, rolling quickly, and in the end, it hit a woman who was almost at the bottom. She noticed what was happening and tried to reach the end of the escalator before the suitcase, but she wasn't fast enough. The suitcase struck her in the back and knocked her forward. The impact was so strong that, in the end, they had to call paramedics to help the victim. Did you know you can pee, poop, or even fart when you're really anxious, angry, or stressed? Well, it's true, and I'm about to show you. A man was being formally charged by the police for a crime, and his body reacted in a totally uncontrollable way, making him unable to hold in a fart. The funniest part is that he was right in the middle of being charged, about to be incriminated, and his body just failed him. The suspect, clearly nervous, asked, "Am I being charged?" And as soon as the blonde officer confirmed with a yes, the guy couldn't hold it anymore and let out a fart that lasted 4 seconds. The best part was the officer's reaction as they tried to stifle their laughter. I couldn't really figure out what this guy was up to. Is he crazy, or was it all a prank? First, he parked his motorcycle next to a pump at a gas station, got off, and waited for the attendant to fill his tank. So far, so good. But when it came time to pay, he didn't gently pull his wallet from his pocket like most people would. Instead, the guy basically whipped out his wallet as if it were a gun, pulling it from the front of his pants. Naturally, that scared the employee and everyone else nearby, who ran off thinking things were about to get really bad. People started looking around like they were expecting the worst, but soon realized the biker was only kidding. With nothing else to do, a second employee and the attendant came back to the pump. But at the end of the day, that joke wasn't cool at all. It might be funny for those watching, but for the people caught up in the chaos, it was anything but amusing. 14. A close shave. Our final video features someone with an incredibly high level of luck. A young woman was walking slowly down the sidewalk when, all of a sudden, she noticed a tire rolling at high speed from the street, heading straight toward her. The girl, somewhat shocked, took a step back, and for a moment it seemed like the tire would miss her. But then the tire hit the curb, bounced high into the air, and flew right over her head. In a miraculous moment, she stood there, unmoving, while the tire soared above her and landed behind her, rolling away. It looks like something out of a movie, but it was very real. The young woman took a small step, and by some miracle, the tire grazed over her head. And of course, the tire kept on going without looking back, while she just went on as if nothing had happened. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.